Up now, won't he, for the season ahead?
Very much so, I would imagine. I suppose the key with Press Gang is the fact that he's trying 2 miles for the first time here, was over 1.5 miles here at Kempton last time, and I'm not sure that he really looked as though he needed to go up to 2 miles, but he certainly gave the impression he would cope with staying trips when beaten just under 2 lengths over 1.6 miles at Chelmsford 3 starts ago.
Making their way out for this. Let's talk about Trinitas, who's 3-1, Dave, for Hughie Morrison and Charlie Bennett. And he ran very well, I thought, last time at Lingfield. He finished second there. He'd been off about 7 weeks prior to that, and he'd been 3.5 lengths by Dubai Frame.
Yeah, that was a personal best for Trinitas, and it was also under, well, near identical conditions to this evening. 2 miles on Polytrack. Prior to that, had made the frame over this evening's trip at Nottingham, but that last run was his best, and if there can be a little bit more to come from Trinitas, as there probably ought to be on the 7th outing of his life and his 3rd at this trip, then he can make the shake-up here. I think this is a pretty open race, though. I'm not sure I'd have it as a 3-1 the field race. I think I'd probably be looking at more 4-1 nights too. I think it's pretty open. He's one of the more likely ones, isn't he?
Now, someone downstairs will be back in number 8 looking for Carl, something we do on a regular basis, particularly on these evening shifts. But in truth, he's not hard to find normally.
Where would you normally go to find him? Looking for Carl.
Yeah, I don't think I should divulge.
Go any further with that?
No, let's leave it.
Yeah, it's something of a guessing game as to whether Looking for Carl will last home over this 2 miles. First time cheek pieces last time was a good second over 1.5 miles here, and a strong finishing second as well.
Yeah.
Whether he will prove so effective over an additional half mile, I think is very hard to tell, Angus. I'm firmly of the opinion that, if a horse stays on over 12, then you think, well, an extra 1 or 2 might be to advantage.
Or just a strongly run 12,
But going up to this sort of trip, I think it's something of a guessing game. He's certainly capable of better. He's had just 5 starts, all of them on the all-weather, and he's just £1 higher here. So there are lots of positives, and I just simply don't know about the 2 mile trip.
Yeah, we found him there behind the post, Carl, and he's got the cheek pieces on, which helped him, I think, to win last time. He's got them on again. He was wearing them for the first time last time up. Trinitas now being backed 11-4. Press Gang 9-2, looking for Carl 13-2. Inoko is next in, Dave.
Yeah.
For Robert Stevens and Pat Cosgrove.
Yeah, I thought Inoko had a pretty decent chance here, Angus. Latest start in a decent race at Bath was, well, quite well beaten, but that was a better race than this one. And we know plenty about this horse. He's a relatively infrequent winner over the last couple of seasons, but he's pretty consistent on this surface. We know that 2 miles isn't a problem for him either. And in terms of handicapping off 65, he's certainly thereabouts as well, isn't he? So I thought that Inoko was a pretty solid one. He's won off this mark in the past of 65, and certainly there are no problems with Inoko as regards trip or surface.
No, I can see why you'd be relatively keen on him. It's not a race at Class 6 over 2 miles to get too involved in, is it? But
no, he was beaten ahead of 65 3 starts ago, wasn't he? So he's not. He's
not chucked in.
No, but he's on the dance floor, isn't he?
He's got a chance
in terms of handicap ratings.
Personally, I thought Trinitas was the obvious one. I know it's favourite, but a very good run last time.
Yeah.
Will definitely stay. Handles the all-weather. Hugh Morrison's horses are going all right. I thought he'd go really well. So we're past post time, but I've not loaded them yet. They are about to start. There's one in. There's Yorinoco
There's
going
Inoko,
forward.
Yeah. Won't be hard to spot him. Lovely grey.
Indeed. One going in is Press Gang, who's just been a little bit on the drift. But got a good draw. 3-1 about Trinitas. Press Gang 4-1. 6-1 looking for Carl. 7-1 Inoko. Folie Bergère 8-1. 10's now about Tin Fandango, who's taken a little bit of support from Mark Usher and Ryan Tate. Bird for Life 12. 16's The Fiddler. Planetoid 20s, along with Mount Cleshar. Southern States 25s and Simafar 100-1. They are loading fairly sharpish here, Dave. So I've nailed my colours to Trinitas, isn't it?
Yeah, I will go for Inoko.
Good.
But it might just be that in honour of the late Charles Aznavour, who died today, that Folie Bergère might pop up. Not that I'm suggesting he was an habitué of that establishment.
Indeed. Well, thank you for that, Dave. Here's Gareth.
All in. And they're off. Over 2 miles for our finale. The Wise betting at racinguk.com at handicap. And Press Gang is away sharply along the inside of Tin Fandango and wider out to Mount Cleshar, who now joins them up front, with Deep Route on the track at Simafar now coming through to lead them into the first turn. So it is now Simafar who leads as they swing back towards us for the first time over Mount Cleshar, who is racing in second place towards the rails, and then a little bit wider out the favourite Trinitas in the green silks, with Press Gang now in fourth. Another length back to Tin Fandango. Then chases Planetoid, who races a further 1 length or so ahead of Folie Bergère. Then the grey Inoko, who's over towards the inside. Well down the field early on, looking for Carl, with over to the rails the Fiddler. And the back couple are Southern States and the back marker Bird for Life, who at this stage would be around about 10 lengths off Simafar, who in the hands of Ross Orion is setting the pace here. It looks a sensible one as they make the journey on down past the stands for the first time. So it is Simafar in front by a little more than a length over Mount Cleshar, who is settled down in second, and then Trinitas, who's racing in third, gets a nice toe in. A couple of lengths further behind them to a closing in at Southern States, right down the outer under Rab Havlin, bringing his mount forward, possibly not overly happy with the pace that's being set up ahead. Tin Fandango in an orange-coloured jacket, then Press Gang from Folie Bergère, Planetoid looking for Carl Inoko, Bird for Life, and on heading away from us, the Fiddler is last of all. So racing right-handed out towards the far side of the track and towards the halfway stage of this concluding 9:15 at Kempton Park. Simafar now being kept a little more honest by Southern States up around the outer. There's a length and a half back to Trinitas, who runs side by side with Mount Cleshar to the fence. Also racing together are Press Gang and Tin Fandango. They're a couple of lengths further away from Planetoid and Folie Bergère, who are running in the next 2 places. And then well towards the rear end of the field, still the last quartet being made up of Inoko looking for Carl, and then Bird for Life and the Fiddler. So heading on towards the point from where they started, galloping now for their final 3/4 of a mile. And it is still Simafar who sets the pace here. First start today for trainer Claire Ellum by around about a half length to 3 parts. Over in second place on the outside at Southern States, with Mount Cleshar pugged in against the fence back in third. Press Gang is tracking that one. Trinitas just ahead of Press Gang as they now race right-handed out of the back straight for the final time. Tin Fandango is following them, Planetoid, as they race now for their final half mile of the journey. Folie Bergère is edging a little bit closer towards the outer, then looking for Carl Inoko, and still Bird for Life together with the Fiddler occupying the back couple of places, and has been the case in many of the races here at Kempton Park tonight. They haven't gone too quick throughout the early stages. It's going to start to develop now as they race into the home straight and under 3 furlongs to go. Simafar is now kicking off the front, hard driven to stay where he is. Trinitas is now also called upon for a little bit more. Folie Bergère, the eyes are drawn to that one. Very quickly Folie Bergère sweeps past and goes for home. Press Gang is now off in pursuit, looking for Carl, the light blue jacket, down the outside as they head towards the final furlong. It is Folie Bergère who went for home a long way out. Press Gang over towards the inside. inside is pressing hard, as is looking for Carl. Further back to the Fiddler, who's staying on strongly from a long way back, and Bird for Life likewise down the outside with Anoko, but it's looking for Carl under Jim Crowley, who struck the front close to the finish, draws on by a length and a half to win. Looking for Carl over Press Gang, who's joined on the line for second by staying on Bird for Life. Anoko in the mix, as was the Fiddler, and Folly Berger, who made a bit of a break for it at the top of the lane, didn't quite last home.
Well, stepping up in trip again for Looking for Carl was no bar to success, Dave, and he's won it at 6-1 from Press Gang, who was down on the inside and had every chance, but Looking for Carl came over the top of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very hard to know how, as I said beforehand, how a horse will cope with an additional 4 furlongs, but Looking for Carl has coped with this admirably. That's the horse in the pale colours, right in the middle of your Roger Melly, about to overhaul Folly Bergère, who couldn't sustain her run throughout the final furlong and just fades out of it. It is Bird for Life. Ooh,
Press Gang second,
Press Gang. Yeah, I
say.
think you're right. I've written down that written wrong. Press Gang, I think, was second, and Bird for Life probably just failed to get up to third, but we'll see.
The favourite was ridden prominently, always handy, but just couldn't quicken.
Didn't
Couldn't pick
seem
up.
to be any particular excuses there, Angus, did
Nope.
there? I don't think. The winner at this point is about 2/3 the way back. Press Gang is racing in about 5th place at this point, and Bird for Life has 1 behind. I don't think this race bestowed fear or favour the way that it was run, particularly. It's just it's a 0 to 65 2-miler, isn't it? I don't like
Indeed.
it when people say this, but it is what it is. It's Simafar who makes. I didn't think there were any excuses for Trinitas. That horse has a perfectly good position there, no cover, but is racing under restraint in 4th place. And Inoko, bless him, ran a solid race. He's the horse he's alongside, in fact, the 3rd placed Bird for Life, and you will see him go forward. He's the grey there, as we see that back shot. He keeps on into 4th place from the back. At this point, Folly Bergère probably traded quite short in running because
cruised to the
travelled
front.
pretty easily to the front in the yellow. But no sooner has she hit the front than the rest of them start to bear down. The Stars and Stripes are Press Gang towards the far side, but it's Looking for Carl, who seemed to relish the additional 4 furlongs here and is strong at the finish. So that opens a few doors for Harry Dunlop. He's won that really in pretty
well, hasn't he?
good style,
Yeah,
and
he got every yard of that, didn't he? Stayed
know,
on really strongly.
he'll remain in this grade, won't he? Because he Bird for Life was second indeed.
Wow,
Oh,
didn't
dear.
look that way, did it?
It
But
didn't. I thought
Bird for
that,
Life called us second. 6-1, 12-1, 4-1 the SPs. Press Gang the 3rd horse, and they finish in a bit of a heap, as you might imagine, for a Class 6 here.